Good morning to our viewers here in the United States and all around the world. It is Tuesday, February 15th. I'm John Berman with Brianna Keeler, and breaking news overnight in the Russia-Ukraine crisis that is engulfing Europe and the world. It's really a Russia crisis. Will it invade Ukraine further? Russia says some of its forces surrounding Ukraine are now returning to their bases. That is a claim from them, and maybe a possible sign they are moving to de-escalate the situation. Ukraine, though, rightly skeptical of these claims. The country's foreign minister says they will believe it when they see it. Russia's Vladimir Putin and the German Chancellor Olaf Scholz, they have been meeting this morning in Moscow. That meeting's still going on. We are expecting to hear from them at a joint news conference shortly. A Kremlin spokesperson insists Putin does want to continue to negotiate.
At the same time, major military exercises do continue, and there is new evidence of Russia's equipment buildup at the Ukraine border. Look at this here, some new satellite images that are showing at least 60 helicopters that have landed in the past few days at a previously unused airbase in Crimea. These helicopters are said to be a mix of transport and attack aircraft. More than 130,000 Russian troops are closed as an invasion precaution. U.S. officials say the situation remains extremely dangerous and a Russian attack could be ordered at a moment's notice.
CNN's Jim Sciutto live for us in Kyiv this morning. Jim, why don't you bring us up to speed on the very latest developments, these Russian claims, the Ukrainian reaction? Where do you think we are this morning?
Really, you have three signals in the last 24 hours. The most recent being this claim from the border back to their home bases. Yesterday you had Sergei Lavrov and Vladimir Putin in a televised meeting say that the window for diplomacy was still open, and then you had the Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov call my colleague Fred Pleitkin last night and say, yes, Putin is still willing to talk. So those three signals against what U.S. intelligence has been assessing for recent days as getting worse, not better. And that is more forces moving closer to the border into combat positions, as well as hardware, like the helicopters that Brianna was just talking about there. So the question is, which is true, right? The U.S. view continues to be that Russia has the capability to invade. It is just up to Putin to order it. You do have Putin saying publicly now that he's willing to talk, so at least signaling publicly that perhaps he's not ready to give that order or would not give that order. The Ukrainians, as you note, are skeptical. The foreign minister said a couple of things. One, he said the sort of Ukrainian equivalent of we'll believe it when we see it, but he also said we've heard these pronouncements from Russia before and they haven't turned out to be true. I think we should be conscious throughout, John and Brianna, that this is a hard war landscape. You've got the troops, the armor, the airplanes, the helicopters, but it's also an information space, information warfare. So you have messaging like this, which can be true, can be partially true, or can be a feint. And by the way, the U.S. is playing this game as well. By releasing so much of its intelligence on Russian military moves, it's making public to Russia, we see what you're doing here, again, playing its own game of information warfare. So that space requires a few ounces, a few grains of salt as we see all this play out.
And Jim, there's also domestic political implications just in the U.S., but also in Russia, where you have the Duma voting to recognize these Ukrainian regions where there is fighting, has been fighting for some years now. The significance of that, how much pressure does that put on Putin?
Well, basically, it would be shaving off another piece of Ukraine. Russia already did that in 2014 by invading, occupying, and then annexing Crimea. And then it's been fighting this kind of insurgency campaign in the east and basically occupying and controlling those territories there. So this would formalize this as Russia formalized its annexation of Crimea. And I think it's a reminder that Putin has a whole room service menu, right, of options here, short of a full-scale invasion. He has the capability, according to the U.S. and NATO, to really take over the whole country, including the capital here in Kyiv. But he could take steps short of that, like the Duma recognizing, making it official that these pieces of sovereign Ukrainian territory are now in effect Russian, perhaps take a smaller piece of land connecting those territories to Crimea further in the south. There's more than one option for President Putin. By the way, that call doesn't have to be made today. Could be next week, could be next month.
Jim Sciutto in Kyiv. We're going to see you at the top of the hour. Thanks so much for your report.